How's it going, peeps? Welcome back to Viva La Coin. I am Joe, and I will be your host for today's episode as we go into updates on the big boy himself, Bitcoin, and seeing exactly where we are in the charts today. Despite most fear and dissent coming from the banks and everyone else over the course of this last flash crash, Bitcoin has come back with strength. So God forbid you dropped your spacesuit off at the dry cleaners. You might not even have time to pick it back up before we go straight to the moon. But let's figure out exactly where we're at the moment, why Bitcoin dumped in the first place, and what that means moving forward as far as business and institutional investment. So I'm going to share my screen with you here, and we're going to jump right into it. But first and foremost, I just found this article pretty interesting. Bitcoin's 2021 returns destroy everything on Wall Street, Goldman Sachs says, which is pretty interesting considering that Goldman Sachs was avidly against Bitcoin in general. That is the case, even though as of recently, May 2020, Goldman's money management division argued in a presentation that cryptocurrencies were not a suitable investment for their clients, merely a beneficiary of mania. Which is funny because now 40% of Goldman clients have exposure to cryptocurrencies. Life comes at you fast, but they'll keep telling you to hold off on purchasing it while they continue to buy it for themselves. They like to have that control over something that even they right now cannot have control over. But let's jump into the chart. Bitcoin, $54,000. Who would have thought? Huh? Not me. I'm not a financial advisor. Remember that. This caught me completely by surprise. Couldn't have possibly foreseen this coming. However, if you did and you're a part of the journey, congratulations to you. Now, we took a dip in a flash crash that has occurred over the course of about the last 2 weeks. It started developing 2 weekends ago as we prepared to come up towards the last week and into that final Friday of February. Part of why this is occurring and what you need to be aware of, I've alluded to it in a couple of previous videos, is that we know that there are a series of large mining pools and a couple different exchanges that these quote-unquote whales or individuals that have thousands of Bitcoins go when they try and dump them at thousands of time leverage. Whether it's the miners or the whales themselves, they're doing this to suppress the price to make sure that other people can get in at an affordable rate, even if they're billionaires, or some of them just want to still purchase more for themselves. So they're trying to buy a little bit of time from their end. At least that is the grand outlook. And there's a tweet, the largest YouTube channel that covers cryptocurrencies, BitBoy Crypto. I follow them. Definitely a good time to watch them. We have differing opinions on some things, but they're usually very, very thorough. But they covered a tweet that another channel, Cryptos R Us, that I follow, started putting out back towards the start of February, but it was pointing out F2 pool, which is a larger mining pool in China. And the data that we were looking at, and hopefully my face isn't blocking any of this, but we could look at the dips on the Bitcoin charts, and they were dumping astronomical amounts of Bitcoin, more than they would ever typically dump or more than they have in the past. Anytime Bitcoin started to rise, anytime it started to run up, they would come out and dump just automatically right at that moment onto the market. And what it was doing was a lot of new people that came into the market, it was scaring them out and it was dumping the price. The whales, the institutions, people with money, they don't panic. They sit on their hands and they purchase the Bitcoin that everyone else panic sells. So the reason why I'm putting this out and I'm making this update is to please pay attention as to why the market's going up and down. Just because there's a flash crash, that does not mean we are back in the bear market. And I feel as though the market strength right now, in my non-financial advisor opinion, is going to trend in a positive direction for the foreseeable next couple of days until we come up to a important date towards the end of March that has to do with CME futures on the 26th. But that's a separate topic in and of itself. Now, I wanted to share this with you, and if you ever want to look into what companies or trusts are purchasing Bitcoin, you can go to bitcointreasuries.org. And we'll actually have a comprehensive list of all the companies and trusts and funds that have added Bitcoin onto their balance sheet and the amount and when they added it and what the current value is today. Now, a couple key figures I'm going to point out here to keep your eye on in this space moving forward is MicroStrategy is pretty much known as the company to start all this from the institutional level. They first were purchasing Bitcoin back in the fall, and at that time it was pretty unheard of for companies to put any of their total liquidity into Bitcoin. But Michael Saylor, who is the CEO and owner of that company, early believer in Google and the internet, he saw the value in that and saw where the US dollar was heading. And he put a serious amount of money into Bitcoin, made a lot more. And every single time there's a dip, you'll see it in the news. And it just happened a couple days ago. They bought another $10 million worth of Bitcoin. They're constantly buying it, and they put together a playbook or a strategy that they taught about 1,000 other institutions on February 3rd how to do the same thing. And guess who had 3 of their executives in that meeting? Elon Musk. And whether it was Tesla or if he had people there from his other private companies, we don't know what SpaceX, so to speak, is doing. But there's Tesla following up with the $1.5 billion. Square, which is owned by Jack Dorsey, who owns Twitter, but they are putting it in. Twitter is selling a series of different things in order to raise capital to buy Bitcoin. You're going to see other major companies join this list as well. One other big trust I want to point out, and you're going to hear about them in the news over the course of the next several months and probably years. It's Grayscale Bitcoin Trust. Now, they had a very specific business model in how they want to acquire Bitcoin. So you're wondering, outside of retail, outside of institutions, who else is just buying this all up, right? Who's behind the scenes? Grayscale Bitcoin Trust owns 649,130 Bitcoins. That is a ton of Bitcoin, considering that there's probably, give or take, around 18.5 million in circulation, 2.5 of which are lost. They have a big chunk of the existing Bitcoin. Now they're holding on to it, and what they do is companies can purchase shares of Grayscale in order to get exposure to cryptocurrency without actively going into exchanges or buying it, since most of these companies are either inept or afraid of the risk that comes along with it. And on their website, they actually break down all the different cryptocurrencies that they currently purchased and that they offer within their trust. Right now they have Bitcoin, Ethereum, Bitcoin Cash, and Ethereum Classic, I think just as a safety measure, but they don't have much of that. They have a considerable amount of Litecoin. They also put out a short list of 25 other cryptocurrencies, including Cardano, Chainlink, Polkadot, and several other major cryptos that they are looking at adding to this trust as a possible hedge against inflation and the US dollar collapse. So all interesting stuff, but I want you to know the driving factors behind why Bitcoin is going to do this next leg up and start pushing towards this 6-figure number over the course of the next month and a half, 2 months. A couple more, quick, rapid news stories. Norwegian oil billionaire says Bitcoin could be worth millions of dollars each. Puts all liquidity of company assets into Bitcoin of his oil company. So he just said, screw it. We're putting all of our fucking money into Bitcoin, and this is going to be our treasury asset. And this is where we see the value going. That's what we want to back our institution with. So massive news, but they're not the only one. Big Chinese app, Maitu, buys $40 million of a combination of Bitcoin and Ethereum. So this list that I showed you is only growing. And these are public companies. These are companies that have to announce that they purchase Bitcoin or Ethereum or cryptocurrencies because they have public shares. That for every one company that's disclosing this, you're going to have other companies that are private that do not have to disclose it, but they are absolutely buying. Every single time the price dips, they're buying. Every time people panic and sell, they're buying. Every time a news story comes out and says Bitcoin's dead, they're buying. And that includes the banks and everyone else telling you and me not to. Even the Indian government, that they said hardcore, we are going to ban cryptocurrency. They've been fighting this same battle for years. Again, now offering different rules on how to regulate it, but we're not going to ban it because they understand it is a death sentence for their economy to block themselves from what will soon be the federal currency or federal reserve of the world. Now, again, I'm not a financial advisor, but these aren't my ideas. This isn't something I dreamed up in my basement and then I'm just telling other people. There are full governments and companies and massive wealthy groups of people that are putting their money into this beyond just retail, beyond just the people that actually need it. Everyone now sees the value in this. In any country that's going to put forth regulation that will hinder their population from participating, or basically asking everyone to buy a one-way ticket out of that country to go somewhere else where they can experience the financial market and that sort of freedom to bank on their own. And then finally, even recognizable names such as the NBA are putting together a blockchain advisory committee. Now, this may have floated over your head, even if you are a fan of the NBA, because those aren't always the things that we pay attention to. But you know who does? The billionaire owners, including Mark Cuban, but not just him, the Celtics owner and a couple other people. They have a massive lucrative deal right now with a cryptocurrency known as Flow. And that ties in a company known as Dapper Labs, and they build apps and games and different things in this decentralized space. But they've been putting out NFTs or non-fungible tokens, that digital art that you've seen pop up in the news, people paying for digital art. They applied it to Top Shots in NBA trading cards and moments. And they already sold about $300 million worth of NBA Top Shot NFT merchandise or ownership over the course of the last month, which is insane considering that this space is just getting started. So regardless of who it is or what level they're on, where the big money is, where the smart money is, they see the value in Bitcoin. No one is selling it. The price is going down because they are dumping it to buy it for cheaper while they still can. No one is selling it. And even at the end of this bull run, when it does drop like it does every 4 years, everyone will then buy it again at the absolute bottom. And then it will go up another 10x, 20x. I can't give the exact number because I don't know, and I'm not going to lie to you and pretend like I do. However, these cycles are going to continue to repeat, and I want you to be aware of it. I want you to do your own research. I want you to understand why these large companies are throwing their money into it while they're telling you not to. And ultimately, that is my message today on Viva La Coin. And I appreciate you so much for being here with me. Hit like on the video, share this to the people that need to know it. If you have any questions, leave a comment down below and make sure to turn on the bell notifications. We're going to try and keep getting videos out one per day from here on out throughout the year. I can't thank you enough for joining us along in the journey, and I will see you next time.